Good morning, televiewers, and welcome to the midweek edition of The Brief, live on My Media Prime Television, a program where we get to dig several layers beneath the major headlines as captured by newspapers in Cameroon. On today's edition of the program, the papers are focusing on what is happening in Gauketunja division of the northwest region of Cameroon, as well as the recent pastoral letter of the Archbishop of the Metropolitan Archdiocese of Douala, His Grace Samuel Kleda, to faithfuls of his Archdiocese. We shall tell you more on those headlines. Let's find out what Bomotonguina Gwladys have for us in the French language newspaper. Bonjour Gwladys.
Bonjour Lasha, bonjour à vous et au plaisir de vous retrouver une fois de plus pour Débrief, votre émission bilingue de revue de presse sur My Media Prime Télévision. Alors ce matin, nous allons débuter simplement avec le journal La Nouvelle Expression qui nous parle d'Equinox Télévision. La cavale contre Equinox, c'est ainsi qu'est intitulé ce titre. Séverin Nsungkikang monte au créneau. Sur le plateau d'Equinox Télévision, le patron du groupe La Nouvelle Expression Equinox a fait des révélations fracassantes sur les coups bas du ministre de l'administration territoriale et de la décentralisation, Paul Atangandi. Les détails sont donc en page 8 de ce journal. En page 2, le journal nous parle de droits de l'homme au Cameroun. Le rédac à la police judiciaire. En effet, Maximilien Ngombe est attendu le 24 mars 2022 à la porte 114 de la direction de la police judiciaire à Yaoundé. Plus de détails dont vous sont donnés en page 2 de ce journal. Toujours dans la Nouvelle Expression en page 5, le journal nous parle de la grève des enseignants, le Cameroun en irréversible marche arrière. Nous poursuivons, mesdames, messieurs, ce matin avec le journal Le Jour qui nous parle en grand titre de Monseigneur Samuel Kleda qui s'adresse ici au gouvernement camerounais en posant la question que ceux qui volent cessent de voler. Dans la lettre pastorale adressée aux fidèles à l'occasion du carême 2022, l'archevêque métropolitain de Douala dénonce la corruption, la malgouvernance et l'appropriation des ressources de la nation par une poignée de personnes dans une impunité totale. Les détails sont donc en page 2 et 3 de ce journal. En page 5, le journal nous parle lui aussi de Maximilien Ngombe qui est convoqué à la police pour parler ici de la société civile au Cameroun. Mouvement d'humeur Olembé des sous-traitants de la Magile qui ont été donc arrêtés. Les détails sont en page 12 de ce journal. Mesdames, Messieurs, nous poursuivons ce matin avec l'hebdomadaire La Cible qui indique ce matin qu'un nouveau mouvement franquiste voit le jour à Nairobi. Le fondateur du mouvement franquiste pour le changement et le progrès, Cédric Penda Moukoko, voit donc en Frambia la solution face aux nombreux mouvements d'humeur qui accablent le régime de Yaoundé. Le mouvement franquiste pour le changement et le progrès est un collectif d'hommes et de femmes acquis à la cause du changement dans notre société. C'est du moins ce que révèle ce journal ce matin. Il propose donc comme candidat à la prochaine élection présidentielle Frambia. Il s'agit ici de monsieur Cédric Penda Ekoka, président de l'association Cameroun Diaspora Kenya. Mesdames, Messieurs, nous terminons ce matin avec le journal quotidien Réalité Plus qui nous parle de la 30e journée mondiale de l'eau sous le signe de l'amélioration de la qualité de l'eau potable au Cameroun par la Camwater. Cette journée vise donc à réfléchir sur l'état de l'eau et de sa disponibilité dans le monde entier. Au Cameroun, la Camwater, sous la conduite de son directeur général Gervais Bolenga, met un accent sur la qualité de l'eau à offrir aux ménages, aux populations camerounaises. Une série d'activités sont donc organisées pour examiner et s'arranger à ce que l'eau potable soit donnée aux Camerounais. Les détails sont donc en page 6 et 11 de ce journal. Dans le même journal, en page 2 et 5, Le journal nous parle du RDPC au Cameroun, bien sûr, à la Haute-Sanaga, Bidumpak, bien sûr, invite donc les militants à une mobilisation totale le 24 mars 2022. Mesdames, Messieurs, c'est ici que nous nous arrêtons pour ces titres en langue française. Place à la découverte des titres en langue anglaise avec toi, Lasha.
Thank you, Bomotonguina. Gwladys, let's kickstart this morning with the Guardian Post newspaper. The Guardian Post is focusing on the move being taken by the government of the Republic of Cameroon in Ngokitunja division. The paper writes in one of its major headlines, salaries of over 1,400 teachers fleeing armed conflict suspended. Government demands proof of effective service before salaries reinstated. And the Secretary General of Cameroon Teachers Trade Union, Katu, cries fall, says a move inhumane and unjust on the teachers. The paper goes ahead to say the salaries of over 1,400 teachers posted to serve in Ngokitunja division of the restive Northwest region have been indexed for a suspension. The teachers fleeing the violence associated with the Anglophone crisis in the division are allegedly or are already in a tight corner. A majority of them are said to have already gone for months without salaries, and hundreds of others, the paper gather, have been earmarked or the paper gather are in the process of seeing their own salaries blocked for the same reason that their colleagues have had their salaries to be blocked in Ngokitunja division of the Northwest region of Cameroon. More details on page 3 of this edition of the Set newspaper. We stay in Bamenda to talk about Bamenda varsity official that has been found dead in her home. We are told by the paper that the lifeless body of the service head in charge of teaching at the Faculty of Education in the University of Bamenda, Dr. Amabo Olivia, has been found dead in her home in Bamenda in the Northwest region of the country. Circumstances surrounding the death of the varsity don is yet to, or is still unclear. What actually happened to the university official in Bamenda, chief town of the Northwest region of Cameroon. And before Paramount chieftaincy we are told by the Guardian Post newspaper that from Mukete, the fourth Ekoko clocks 2 years on the throne. More details on what he has done for the past 2 years only in this edition of the Guardian Post newspaper. We take you to these other headlines in Eco Sante newspaper that has to do with the competition of the cleanest medical facility in the West region of the country. The governor of the West region, president of the follow-up committee and evaluation of the cleanest medical facility competition in the West region of the country for the year 2021 has donated or has handed over the prize to the cleanest medical facility in the West region of the country. We are talking about the Nchang District Hospital, which emerged first during the competition for 2021. More details in this edition of Eco Sante newspaper. We move on to municipal updates. Municipal updates newspaper this morning is revisiting the major national dialogue recommendations, this time around decentralization, where Commonwealth Secretary General salutes government's drive towards the implementation of the major national dialogue resolutions as well as decentralization of the country. And the paper is also telling us that from Mukete the fourth Ekoko clocks 2 years on the throne. He was made paramount ruler of the Bafo people 2 years ago, as municipal updates is telling us. And Kumba Ekondo Titi Road rehabilitation works reduce transport fare. Those were some of the major headlines that we gather for you on today's edition of the program. We are back to continue with our discussions. And Bane Evi, who is the communications secretary to the Popular Action Party of Njang Dennis, is joining us on the line to Yaoundé. Good morning, Evi, sir, and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Lasha Kingsley, and good morning to Gwladys. Good morning to all viewers of my media. Once again, it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Okay, Elvis, we begin with the Guardian Post newspaper. Of course, sometimes back we talked about the issue that has been raised this morning by the Guardian Post newspaper. 300 teachers had their salaries suspended and the newspaper cried foul. And this time around, we are reading again that 1,400 of them who are fleeing the armed conflict have had their salaries suspended, and the government of the Republic of Cameroon is demanding effective presence of those teachers before their salaries can be reinstated.
Well, if you remember the cry of Honorable Weber at the National Assembly, he said something that our governors and divisional officers were acting just like colonial masters back there, people who believe that administration is can only be done through the use of the cane. Unfortunately, that is still what is happening to today. When you go back there, they are the same people who suspend teachers' salaries for fleeing conflicts, for running for their own dear lives. But they who suspend the teachers' salaries, they live either there under tight security, or some of them, they themselves are not even found within their own areas of jurisdiction. So you understand that if you link it to what is happening today with the teachers' strike, you understand that teachers in this country have been so dehumanized to the point where no one actually cares about them, be it their financial situation, be it their own lives or whatever thing. You cannot condition civilians to go stay in an area where you yourself cannot stay there, or where you go to your own toilets followed by guards, and you think that others should freely go to the zone. And we know, Mr. Lasha, that teachers are a prime target by the armed fighters in that part of the country. So you understand simply that we are faced with a system that has absolutely no respect for the teachers. I have often asked a question, why has it become so difficult? They will promise security for teachers and students. Why has it become impossible for them to secure even particular schools where these teachers can teach the children, and then the state secures both the lives of the children and the teachers? They have not, and I don't think that anybody can prove me wrong, that there is no particular school in the northwest or the south this has been able to actually guarantee security there for teachers or students. But you insist that they should go stay back there. I say it is something that I don't know. It's something you don't understand why it has to be that way. And I, for one, if I were to be a teacher of the country, believe me, I would prefer to quit the work, I would prefer to quit the job than to go risk my life and my family suffers thereafter, because I want to satisfy certain individuals who do not actually care about my well-being.
Yeah, Evis, and don't you think that this is wrong timing? It is coming at a time where teachers of public schools in Cameroon are striking, demanding for better working conditions, and this will it not stir more anger in the teachers who are already demanding for certain social or certain privileges to be given to them?
When you talk about wrong timing, Mr. Lasha, the question I will ask you is there anything that this regime has ever done on time?
No. That's exaggerating. That's exaggerating.
No,
we have at least
except you want to prove me wrong, therefore, by citing something that this regime has ever done on time. You can prove me wrong. We are media. People are listening to us. This regime has never anticipated anything to solve problems for people even before situations happen. They have never done so. And even when there is a crisis at hand, they overcome by the wrong measures. There's one thing I will tell you, Mr. Lasha, that you are asking if it will not incite teachers the more with respect to what is going on already. I will tell you that when I see, for instance, ministers who go threatening media house and other people for inciting parents or students or whatever, I want to tell you this regime is the first in its kind that is to go out to want to go out in the streets, and at the end of the day they turn around to want to accuse other people. They do not anticipate problems to get solutions, and even when the problems come, they take the wrong decisions, and they think that, like I said before, they can rather use by the cane, they can use by the whip to condition people to submit themselves and do what they think is correct. Let me tell you, I said it before on your platform here, and I'll repeat it. The government continues to sandpaper over the cracks, but the irony is that sandpapering over the cracks does not solve the problems. You may be calming situations now, but a day is coming in this country when the entire country will go in flames. Okay. Incited by the regime, of course, in place.
Evis, many people have accused the church in Cameroon of failing, of not denouncing, especially the Catholic Church, of not really standing up to the test of time like in many other African countries. We've seen Catholic Church doing enough. But recently, Samuel Kleda came out and he issued a certain warning to some Cameroonians who have decided to confiscate, state or the nation's wealth, and they are eating the nation's wealth alone. Samuel Kleda warned them. Le jour newspaper Gwladys did mention, talked about that. Elvis.
Mr. Lasha, and that is where I will not say that it's an exaggeration to say that the Catholic Church has not done something or that they are not doing enough. I want to think that in this country, for instance, with respect to the Anglophone crisis, the Catholic Church remains the only church that has been trying their best. I recognize that. Those who think that they are not doing enough, well, it depends on how they interpret. Catholic, we may have maybe the press who from time to time come out with communicates. Can you cite any other church that has been doing anything? Look at all the Pentecostals we have around the place. They are more concerned with their offerings and tithes in churches on Sundays than worrying about the plight of the masses. So I think the Catholic Church is trying their best, and I would rather want to use this opportunity to call on all other men of God of all other denominations to see how they can all come together as a people, mobilize, and then they do something quite concrete to ensure that change comes into the country. The truth is that the church as a whole has failed because there is enormous division even within the churches among the men of God, where people think that if A is doing something, I cannot align. And of course, like I say, many of them are more concerned with their tithes and offerings than the plight of the people. It's unfortunate. I think I can appreciate, I congratulate the Catholics for what they are doing. I can only encourage them to double up, to do more, but I think they have been doing something.
Yes, yes. In the pastoral letter that was sent out to the faithfuls of Catholic Church by Samuel Kleda, he denounced, amongst other things, corruption, bad governance, and misappropriation of the nation's resources by a certain group of individuals or a small group of individuals with impunity.
Yes, the small group of people he is criticizing or denouncing here, unfortunately, is the same group that we all criticize on a daily basis. But I wonder if these messages actually do touch these people, because I have the fear that most of them have sold their shame and dreams to the dogs. They have sold their souls perhaps to the devil, and so no matter what we do, it really doesn't touch them. And that's why some of us of the PAP and other members of the civil society, we keep insisting and thinking that a transition is the only way we could eventually bring change to this country. Because if we think that that group of people who today manage the affairs of this country could one day come back to their sense to do things the right way, then we are failing, because it has been like that for over 40 years, I mean, say since independence. It continues to aggravate itself, and from every indication, they do not show any signs yet as to the fact that they could sooner or later want to reconsider their ways and do things the right way. It's unfortunate we keep criticizing. Bishop Kleda came out to write. People have been saying it best. The question is, does the message actually touch the concerned persons? I doubt.
Ok, merci beaucoup Mbane Elvis. On va parler maintenant de la 30e édition de la célébration de la Journée mondiale de l'eau. Le Cameroun s'est joint au reste du monde pour célébrer ce jour, et pourtant dans plusieurs localités du Cameroun, et plus précisément aussi à Douala et Yaoundé, les populations sont sans eau.
Je pense, Gwladys, qu'il y a des choses, ou bien certaines journées mondiales, que quand le Cameroun devait juste se taire en fonction de par rapport à cela. Parce que quand je le vois dire qu'ils célèbrent aussi la journée internationale de l'eau, je me demande bien s'ils savent exactement de quoi il s'agit. Parce que regardons par exemple au nord, au nord, où les familles, les villages n'ont pas accès à l'eau pendant des années, pendant des décennies. Et nous avons un système où les gens détournent l'argent toujours en fonction des milliards. Oublions Kamwata. Est-ce que ça veut dire que l'État ne peut pas prendre sur elle au moins de creuser des forages pour ces gens-là? Où sont les élites, au moins qui viennent de ces régions-là? Nous avons une assemblée nationale où les gens s'asseyent là-bas et votent des lois qui n'ont rien à faire, qui ne peuvent rien changer par rapport à la vie des Camerounais, mais ne parlent pas de choses de fond comme cette affaire d'eau. Donc, je pense tout simplement que le Cameroun devait se taire quand les gens célèbrent.
Elvis, why do you think Cameroon should shut up or keep quiet during such international celebration? Don't you think it might be an opportunity for them to reflect on the way forward of probably ameliorating the condition of or the water supply in the country?
We have spent 40 years under Mr. Biapo reflecting Mr. Lasha. We have never done anything. So action speaks louder than word, and I think we all believe in that. Let them do it first, and then next year they can join in celebrating. They should not always spend every year reflecting, and at the end of the year it's done. That's what I'm saying. We cannot have a regime where there's money always in billions, and we cannot even afford drink water for the masses. It doesn't make sense. They should not have been showing up their heads when people are talking about celebrating International Day of Water. Cameroon has so many water bodies. I don't understand why we should have a problem of water in this country. I think it is deplorable, it is sickening, and like I say, these are just some of the reasons or some of the things that give some of us reason to want to think that not only the regime has failed us, but I think that Mr. Biya and his entire government, at least for once, they could consider resigning from the affairs of this country and let new blood come up to take over from there.
Which new blood are you talking about, Elvis? Recently in Parliament, we saw the same new blood voting for Kavayege Jibril. So which Cameroonian can we actually trust?
No. We should not say things that do not stand. Who are those who voted for Kavayege Jibril? It was the same obese CPDM majority we have.
But the CPDM, the CPDM got
without any project of theirs.
The CPDM got young people. The CPDM got young people.
They are not there to represent the masses, Mr. Lasha. They are there to defend their bread. They are there to pay allegiance to the system that placed them there. They are not for the masses. So we cannot talk about an assembly in this country. We don't have MPs in this country because they have never stood for the people. Like I say, we are talking about water today. Go back to the northern part of the country. Let's forget about Yaoundé and other regions. Go to the northern part of the country. How many times have the MPs ever brought it up as a problem at the National Assembly? And if at all they ever did, what follow-up did they put in place to ensure that at least the state could provide even fountains for the people up north? Don't you have MPs that come from that part of the country? Or at least when you are voted an MP, you are an MP for the state and not an MP for a region. If those of the north cannot speak, what about MPs from other parts of the country? Don't they know that we have an acute water problem in that part of the country? So we cannot talk about even if they are young people within the CPDM MPs, they are there to defend a certain system. They are not there to defend or represent the people that they claim they are out to represent. So we cannot be
talking about lack of potable water. We are having information that there is a cholera outbreak in Kumba, chief town of Meme division of the Southwest region, and is coming shortly after the celebration of the International Day for water, as Gwladys rightly puts it. And what is actually happening, and what can be done to redress this situation, Elvis, of lack of potable water?
If you are asking me what can be done, I will simply tell you or give as an advice to Cameroonians that they should watch over their health, because we cannot depend on this regime. We cannot count on the regime. Take the case of COVID, Mr. Lasha. Even when aid, or let me say when sums of money, fallacious sums were given to this country to
Oh, sorry, we lost Elvis. We lost Elvis there. Thank you, televiewers of my Media Prime Television. It's on this note that we end today's edition of the program, which was produced for us by Christian Tebong. We were Bomotonguina, Gwladys, and myself, Lasha Kingsley. See you tomorrow for yet another edition of What the Papers Must Have Said. Bye-bye.
L'histoire de